Okay guys, today's video is building on the Calories 101 video which I posted a little while back. Hopefully you understand total daily energy expenditure, all the components that make it up, and now you can figure out what amount of calories you need to lose weight, maybe to stay at your current level of maintenance, or maybe to be in a surplus to gain muscle. Today I'm going to talk about what your macro targets should be, so your protein, carbs and fats. Now just remember guys, these are just guidelines. This is not set in stone. It's very dependent on the individual. You know, I'm just giving you a rough guideline that hopefully can get you on the right course, but just don't get carried away with the numbers and become so obsessed with hitting certain targets every day, because it can get a bit obsessive. These are just guidelines for you to start with, and then from there you can make your own way. The number one goal when it comes to your diet should be adherence and sustainability. If that means you're a little bit off on your numbers that I'm going to give you now, then it's okay guys. If you can't follow your diet, it's never going to work and you're never going to get in shape. So let's start with protein guys. It's the one everyone talks about. It's the kind of main thing everyone focuses on, especially when it comes to muscle building and things of that nature. So with guys, I like to use 2 grams of protein to 2.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, some guys might think that's a little underdoing it, because I know guys really put emphasis on protein, but guys, just understand, if you overdo protein, it means you're going to have to take back from carbs and fats, which I think are vitally important for body composition and muscle building. So don't overdo protein and then have to sacrifice something like carbohydrates, because when you add up protein, carbs and fats, you obviously need to stay in the right calorie target. And if you're over relying on protein, it means you're going to have to take away from carbs and fats to make sure you stick to your exact calorie requirements. So therefore, don't overdo protein guys. 2 to 2.5 per kilo of body weight is a-okay. For females, I would suggest going about 1.8 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Females might find that this is a bit much, but anything below 1.6 is not great. 1.6 per kilogram of body weight is really not great, especially if you're resistance training, ladies. You need to get that protein in. I know it might be a bit scary because you think that you're going to get big and you're going to get a lot of muscle and stuff like that, but ladies, it's just not feasible. You're not going to pick up muscle extremely quickly unless you are using PEDs or things of that nature. If you're natural and you're just training hard, ladies, it takes a long time to build muscle. So trust me, you need to get adequate protein if you're resistance training and you want to actually move closer to your goals. Now that protein amount will change per kilogram of body weight if you are somewhat obese. You know, if you've got a 130 kg client who's carrying 35% body fat, you're not going to give them 260 grams of protein most likely. So understand that when you are a little bit obese, you should probably calculate your protein requirements on your lean body mass. If you're not sure how to do that, just Google it. It's very simple. All you need to know is your current body weight and body fat level, and then you can adjust and figure out your lean body weight and then base your protein of 2 to 2.5 grams per kg of lean body mass. Now that you understand your protein target, let's focus on fats and carbohydrates. I'm going to first focus on fats because in my experience, a lot of people do not look at fats the way that it should be, and they kind of ignore it when making a diet plan. You know, I see a lot of people that come to me with very generic style of diets and coming from these crazy weight loss kind of plans. Fats are really not accounted for it. So you don't see nuts or avos or olive oils or things like, you know, yogurts put into the diet that do contain a bit of fat. And if you're not getting adequate fat intake, hormonally you could be in a bit of trouble, because you need a certain amount of healthy fats in your diet to maintain a good level of hormonal functioning. So don't ignore fat, and that's why I'm touching on it first. So my suggestion, and again, this is just a guideline guys, it really changes from individual to individual, but this is just a starting point for you. I would go 0.8 grams of fat per kilogram of body weight. So if you weigh 100 kilos, you need 80 grams of healthy fats. So now you've got your protein intake, you've got a fat intake. Obviously protein times by 4, fats you times by 9 to get the calorie amount. Now the amount of calories you have left to make up your total daily energy expenditure you've hopefully calculated, you can then include carbohydrates. So let's say you've got 400 calories left, you divide it by 4, that gives you 100 grams of carbohydrates for the day that you can use. So let's just show a basic example. Let's say your protein intake for the day was 200, okay? And you had 200 grams of carbs as well. If we overdid protein and you added it to 300, that would only leave you with 100 grams of carbohydrates for the day. And let's think about logically, who's going to feel better? The person that has an adequate amount of protein and a good amount of carbs to work with, or overdoing protein and they've got minimal carbs with. And carbs is an immediate energy source. So, guys, don't neglect carbs and just make sure everything is balanced. Now, that being said, with your fats and carb intake, guys, again, you can move. It can really move. If you equate for calories at the end of the day, you can allow yourself more fats and maybe bring down your carbs. You can maybe allow yourself more carbs and bring down your fats. If you bring up one, you must drop the other to equate for it at the end of the day in your total calorie amount. So if you, like myself, prefer a higher carbohydrate intake, you're going to bump your carbs up, maybe bring your fats down, but make sure you're still in a good range that you are healthy when it comes to your fats. But again, if you find that you prefer having a bit more fats in your diet, you can do that. It makes no difference what the carbohydrates and fat ratio is, as long as it equated for in your total calories. It's really up to you and your personal preference. So let's say you had 1,500 calories left to work with your carbohydrates and fats. If you chose to have 900 calories of carbohydrates and 600 calories of fats, or the other way around, it makes no difference. Your fat loss and your body composition results is pretty much going to be the exact same. So it really comes down to a matter of personal preference and what you prefer. For me, I like eating my carbohydrates, so my calories are a lot higher than my fats. But again, it changes, guys. I might go through a phase where I prefer having more fats in my diet, maybe more avos, more nuts, and we'll change it. As long as you equate for it in your total amount of calories that you eat throughout the day, you're A-okay. So just to recap, males go for 2 to 2.5 grams of protein per body weight, lean body mass if you are slightly obese, fats at 0.8, and then the rest of your calories can be made up with carbohydrates. Women, you can go for 1.8 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, and 0.8 grams of fats, and again, carbohydrates can make up the rest of your intake. Again, carbohydrate and fat ratio is just a matter of personal preference. Just make sure you're in a healthy range with your fats, because you do need that for normal hormonal functioning. After that, it's really dependent on you. And again, guys, these things are not set in stone. You can be very flexible. There's 100 different ways to get you to the same goal. So don't think that intermittent fasting or keto or something like that is the solution, because they're not superior by any means. As long as your total daily calorie amount is equated for, there is no difference. If intermittent fasting is perfect for you and you can do it indefinitely and it's a very sustainable way of eating for you, 100% do it, guys. Do what works for you. Again, with keto, if it works for you, you enjoy it, you find that you can function on it and stay on it for the next year or two, again, stick to it. But the number one important thing, guys, when it comes to this isn't the numbers, it isn't being exact on your calorie amounts, it's something you can stick to, something you can adhere to. So guys, don't get caught up too much in the numbers. Use what I've just guided you through as rough starting points, and then work your way from there. See what works for you, see what you prefer, see what's more enjoyable, because you're far more likely to get in shape if you're enjoying the process.